gang subscribe. To the gang subscribe. Not a nigga lie. No thought. Got a couple of bags. I get so wasabi. I'm a zombie. But you want me? Feel like an ice. Honey, I'm coming. And funny. I remember.
Everywhere I go, the people really wanna know who I is and who I be. They stop and stare when they see me. If it's said it once, no need to repeat. Run up on me, watch you fall to your knees. Tip my hat when it's time for the kill. Ain't no beast when you're really real. I am the boss, I am the Don. I am the one they call Lucky Charm. Got my own shit, I don't need your farm. Life was so hard, it made me weak. Built to last, this girl ain't weak. Sturdy and still when I plant my feet. Got it out the mud, now it's racks in my sleep. Look to God, he supplies my needs. Endless faith is what brought me next level prosperity. Silent power moves is what I'm giving. They love to hate the world they can't live in. Always present for the high roads. Go swim within the deep lows. Low. What told the future? Who knows? I don't do it for the likes, I do it for the love. Do it for the ones who really need a hug, cause they had it tough, never had enough. Feared, loved, and respected. Using words as a weapon. Test and she. Hurry up quick, El Jefe's coming soon. Sit up straight when she enters the room. Be enthused, but don't look too amused. This is her queendom, please respect her rule. Hurry up quick, El Jefe's coming soon. Sit up straight when she enters the room. Be enthused, but don't look too amused. This is her queendom, please respect her rule. Smile in my face, would in my place, but act gully on cyberspace. Let's pump brakes, let's be frank. Running after him when you're the chase. You are the catch and he's the net. How quickly do we all forget to honor these small policies, my darling? You are the empress queen. Man, respect or he'll neglect. You are the wind beneath his wings. You are the season, you are the reason why this world can breathe. Giving sons eyes to see and daughters dreams to believe. Anything less than the best for you is high treason, queen. Hurry up quick, El Jefe's coming soon. Sit up straight when she enters the room. Be enthused, but don't look too amused. This is her queendom, please respect her rule. Hurry up quick, El Jefe's coming soon. Sit up straight when she enters the room. Be enthused, but don't look too amused. This is a queendom.
Upset like Cinderella teens. You should see the things I feel inside these denim jeans. I can't associate with y'all, this shit like ketamine. Been on one, been on two, been on everything. Bitch, I'm with my gang, with my squad, what the fuck you want? So be rolling gas, I can't hang, bitch, I'm fucking gone. I got people down from the jump, better know your bonds. I got people just tuning in, and the love is strong. Damn, they gon' want a piece when you got it like that. Like Jake said, we gon' spend it, get it right back. Stack that internet money till the site crash. They on IG tryna get a light back. See, they don't talk that talk, they just type fast. Yeah, we real life, cool, it's really like that. I might roll an eighth inside the blunt, that's a nightcap. Like ups and these downs, with a guy and a dead thing changed. Don't forget where that sauce came from, best remember my name. You take L's every once in a while, gotta charge to the game. You gotta charge it to the game. Yeah, yeah. Through these ups and these downs, swear to God, ain't a dead thing changed. Don't forget where that sauce came from, best remember my name. Ooh. I'm just trying to make my bread and feed the fam. These fuckboys need to grow up like Peter Pan. Sometimes I get so high, I never land. Ain't no need to overthink it, I already understand. They be plotting on my downfall and need another plan. But we welcome all that hating, I'm like, thank you, come again. Made a stack off the game and gave 100 to my man. I don't owe no money to him, I just did it cause I can. Yeah, round shit, we ain't on no clown shit. You a product of the people that you stick around with. Don't get caught up in the evil, that'll have you down bad. Ain't no way around that, you gon' need a bounce back, yeah. Posted up with the people I came up with. Charge a couple else in the game, but I still love it. I keep it low key in order to stay above it. I make it all out of nothing, yeah. Through these ups and these downs, with a guy and a dead thing changed. Don't forget where that sauce came from, best remember my name. You take L's every once in a while, gotta charge to the game. You gotta charge it to the game. Yeah, yeah. Through these ups and these downs, with a guy and a dead thing changed. Don't forget where that sauce came from, best remember my name. You take L's every once in a while, gotta charge to the game. You gotta charge it to the game. Yeah, yeah.
Welcome to Royal Rebounds TV with Calvin and Barry. Just two crazy fans of the Sacramento Kings, and they sharing their opinion. So be sure that you subscribe. It's for the fans, by the fans. Whether you chilling on the couch or wildin' in the stand. For laid back conversations about the Kings, subscribe here. Staying down until we come up thinking this gon' be our year. We're here, drinking beer, talking about the Kings. Be sure you subscribe so you can hear that bell ring, yeah.
What's up, Kings fans? Welcome back to Royal Rebounds TV, a Sacramento Kings YouTube channel for fans by fans.
This is the Royal Rebounds Podcast. Welcome back with Calvin and Barry. On today's show, Kings beat the Spurs 121-114, high-scoring affair. Lots of career highs all over the place. We'll talk about, I see it in the chat already, but we'll talk about what's going on with Mo Harkless and Buddy Hield.
Talk about a little bit of trades, some other ideas. But big news tonight, Kings win.
That's right.
Welcome back. This is the Royal Rebounds Podcast. We're here. I'm drinking a beer, and we're talking about your Sacramento Kings. If you're a Kings fan, make sure you hit that like button down below. And if you enjoy this content, consider subscribing to the channel. This is your Sacramento Kings nightcap. So, Cal, we got to see same starters as last game. Tyrese, Buddy, HB, Metu, Tristan Thompson. Different result tonight. A lot of energy, a lot of scoring. I loved a lot of things I saw out there, but I want to hear your first thoughts.
Well, yeah, a lot to like. The hustle plays I thought were really, really big. I saw multiple Kings players on the floor diving for balls all over the place today. That's great stuff to see, stuff that you expect to get out of guys like Davion Mitchell. But I thought that the rest of the Kings really picked it up in that regard in terms of hustle plays today. Yep. And always good to see a Kings win. They shot the lights out. Both teams shot really, really well. I didn't feel like there was good defense played in spurts here, but again, for the whole picture of this game, I don't think either team really played that great a D. But it's okay when the Kings end up getting the win in the end.
Yes, I totally agree. Shout out Andrew, shout out Sean, Fred, Progressive G. Happy to see you guys all there in the chat. What's up, Patrick, Sass? I'm glad you guys are all here to join us. It's so much more fun doing these after a Kings victory. As you mentioned, Kings win tonight, 124-114 over the San Antonio Spurs. I just can't stop saying I liked everything I saw about tonight. You know, the Kings were strapped. No Fox, no Bagley. Who else is out in this game? We're missing so many guys. I can't even keep track.
Davis.
Yeah. And yet the Kings pull out a victory. And I love what I saw from my guy Tyrese Haliburton.
Oh, yeah.
And also Buddy Hield. I'm wearing Buddy's jersey tonight. Some people think I bash on Buddy a lot, but I don't. I like Buddy when he's playing good, and I'm critical when he plays bad.
That's right.
He shot very, very well tonight.
You sure did.
And it's looking like a really impressive combo having those two guys. Tyrese in the postgame talked about how they spent all summer working out together, so he really felt like he was on the same page. And then a huge game from Damian Jones tonight, career high for him. And he talked about how if you get inside, you get in the lanes, Tyrese has the ball, he's going to reward the big man. And that's exactly what we saw tonight. Still no Rashawn Holmes, unfortunately. No word on tomorrow's game against the Warriors, but hopefully he will be back soon. Kyle, you want to jump here into the box score?
Yep, we got it ready here. Buddy Hield leads all scorers with 29 points, 10 of 18 from the floor, 7 of 9 from 3. Tyrese, 27 points, 11 assists, 2 steals. He led the team in field goal attempts tonight.
Mm-hmm.
First time that's happened this year, something that everyone has been critical of him about in the past in terms of he needs to get more shots up, needs to be more aggressive. He was definitely that today. HB, the only other starter in double figures with 14 points on 4 of 11 shooting and 7 more rebounds. And, yeah, Damian Jones,
Other than Buddy
19 minutes. The only, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Other than those two that I said. Damian Jones, 19 minutes, 23 points, 9 of 15 from the field, 2 of 2 from 3, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks. He was big time today. And he is, you know, you talked about what he said playing alongside Tyrese Haliburton. If Rashawn Holmes is going to be out, to me, Damian Jones is the closest 5 that they have to him in terms of what they bring on the court. Very athletic, good rim runners. So I think it's no surprise that Damian Jones plays a lot besides Tyrese Haliburton when he's running the show, and he has all these career-high numbers to show for it.
A little bit younger, a little bit more athletic, a little bit more energy, and you could definitely tell that from him tonight. One thing I love, though, is 4 steals from Metu, 2 from Haliburton, a steal from Buddy Hield, 3 steals from Mo Harkless, another one from Jamias Ramsey. Then we have 2 blocks by Damian Jones, another block by Tristan Thompson. So the Kings were definitely getting after it on the defensive end of the floor. You know, they still gave up 114 points in this game, but, you know, getting those critical turnovers and turning them into transition points or stopping a potential momentum push for the Spurs is huge. I listened to Doug Christie's post-game press conference, and he talked about how he's learning in only his second game, or actually third game as head coach, but he's learning from that last loss. He said in the last loss, there was like 5 bad plays in a row. He should have called a timeout. He didn't do that. They end up turning the ball over a couple more times, and it turned into a huge run for the other team. So he said tonight he was much more adamant about trying to control the tempo, the pace, and just the momentum of this game by calling some timely timeouts. That's something that both you and I have praised about Alvin Gentry.
Yeah.
A big difference we saw between him and kind of Luke Walton's philosophy of just let it play out.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a great thing for this team. You know, the Kings, we talk about a lot with one of their biggest issues is even in games where they play really well like this. They were up 15 again in this game. But as we see time and time again, they have lapses in play, whether it's offensively or defensively. They always seem to allow their opponent to get back in the game. And so from that regard, if your head coach is keyed into that, seeing when those runs are happening, seeing when your team is starting to fall off a little bit in terms of, playing so well to all of a sudden they're having one of those lapses. A timeout can really, really be beneficial. So it makes a lot of sense to hear Coach Christie say that.
Mm-hmm. And we also got to see Christie win his first coach's challenge of his head coaching career. It was interesting. He talked about it a little bit in the press conference as well. I love how honest this guy is. He's just so honest with everything. And he said, you know what? Just kind of the emotion got the best of me. He said, I saw the play and I was just like, oh my God, did I do that out loud? And then I look up and I see, and I'm like, okay, let's challenge the play. And it ends up being successful. He talks about, he's in a position he's never been in before. And he's learning new things every game. And I just love how honest he's been throughout this whole process. And I think that translates to players really well too, because, saying you don't know the answer or you haven't been in that position before is not a negative thing. It's actually a positive thing that you can build off of if you say, I don't know, but let me figure it out. Or I don't know, but we can find out. And I think that's a big confidence booster for especially a lot of these young guys that are playing minutes that aren't normally playing.
For sure. And it also helps you earn respect too. If somebody comes in and they think they know the answer to everything all the time, we all know that that's not the case with anything in life. So to hear that from your leader, to hear the guy that you're taking all the shots from, he's calling all the shots. Mm-hmm. When they say, I don't know the answer, but I'm going to work to find out with you, that earns respect. That helps everybody see eye to eye.
Yeah, definitely. Anything in the team stats that stuck out to you?
Just the shooting percentages are insane. Both teams basically 50% from the field, 50% from three. The Kings 56% from three today, just absolutely lit it up. And then both teams shot really well at the free throw line too, 92% and 83% for San Antonio and Sacramento respectively. Everything else is pretty even here. The rebounds pretty much even, the assists pretty much even, the turnovers pretty much even, paint points dead even at 50 apiece. So this game was definitely won on the offensive end of the floor, and luckily the Kings 14 big threes compared to 12. In a 7-point game, that's pretty much the difference right there.
Yeah. As I mentioned, best game by far for Damian Jones. And, tomorrow he's going against his old team in the Golden State Warriors. So hopefully we'll see this momentum continue for him. But, 23 points for him, 9 of 15, super efficient. He had 2 threes. He's shooting that three from the top really, really well. Yeah. What do you like so much about this guy?
I just like his athleticism overall. I like his awareness defensively. I think he's in the right spot a lot of times. And for a big man, he actually moves his feet really, really well. I've seen him get switched out onto guards or players on the wing, on the perimeter occasionally. And he never tries to do too much. He's not, trying to be all up in the guy's shorts. He plays very, very within himself, moves his feet. And, yeah, his number one asset is he's a huge lob threat, huge rim runner threat. I think that he sets good screens and he's able to run off of those really well. So it's a tough cover, especially when you have somebody like Tyrese coming off of that pick who is really dangerous with the ball himself, and can score very, very easily. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot to like from him. We saw that turnaround fadeaway earlier in the year. That was super sweet. You don't see somebody that big looking that good on that move very often. So he's an incredibly talented individual and still pretty young. He just hasn't really gotten a whole lot of opportunity yet to showcase that. So he could be making a very good name for himself and taking advantage of a really nice opportunity if Richaun Holmes is going to continue to miss games.
Yeah, I think he's, like you said, the perfect guy to play alongside Tyrese Haliburton because he just rolls to the basket. But that just makes me wonder, what is going to be there for him when Richaun Holmes does return? Are you going to have both of these guys rolling to the basket at the same time? Are you going to have to alternate them? Because that'll definitely cut into his minutes.
Yeah, I don't see playing them alongside each other at the same time. They're like I said, they're very similar styles of players. I think Damian Jones has better outside shot as of right now than Rashawn Holmes does. You know, his form is a lot nicer. We saw him hit those 2 really nice threes today. But overall, you still want them attacking in the same way in the course of a game. So the Kings now have, we talk about how many guards they have, how many point guards they have.
Yep.
They're 3-4 deep at center as well. They can, you know, none of these guys necessarily are all-star level players yet. But they can definitely provide good minutes for you every single night. So it's a tough call now to who to play and when to play.
Yeah, I agree. It looks like some people in the chat want to talk about Mo Harkless and Buddy Hield. I want to talk about Buddy Hield in a little bit, but we'll cover this Mo Harkless situation here for a second. 32 big minutes for Mo Harkless tonight. Coach was raving about his defense after the game. Tyrese Haliburton was raving about his defense after the game. He had a couple big plays in the fourth quarter, including some a tip out of bounds, a steal, stuff like that. Only 4 points for him. That's not really what you would expect out of him, but I think everyone wants to talk about this altercation in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Mo Harkless was very, very animated. He seemed to be yelling at Buddy. He was using his hands a lot. He was very upset. It seemed like there was either a communication issue, maybe a blown defensive call. It didn't seem like it was a problem on the offensive end of the court to me.
Well, it definitely didn't affect Buddy's confidence to shoot, if that's what you're saying. I don't know if anything can affect that overall. There could have been a lot of different things that this conversation was about. It's really hard to tell, especially in the middle of a game. Chances are it was communication or a assignment defensively, because we know that if there is one area of the court that Buddy lacks the most, it's probably going to be on that end. And when you talk about Mo Harkless, that is the thing that you expect him to do the best, right?
Yep.
So that would be my guess. And who knows, maybe Mo Harkless was just really feeling himself today, and so he let all his frustrations fly. I don't know, but he definitely looked more locked in and engaged and had a lot of energy tonight. That's been the biggest thing for me, is sometimes he comes out and he looks like he's kind of sleepwalking through it.
Yeah.
Today was not the case, so that's
Yeah.
good for the Kings. If they can get that out of him every day, that's going to really benefit them.
And, you know, we had talked about some of the problems on this Kings team was, you know, lackadaisical play and, you know, not holding your teammates accountable. It seems like this is holding your teammates accountable pretty hard, yelling at them at the bench, getting upset.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's not the best for chemistry in the moment, but I think that this, you know, obviously something they didn't agree on, and they hashed it out, and it worked out for them. So I love seeing guys get on other guys because of defensive issues like this, because it's only going to get better. You're only going to fix it by talking about it.
Definitely. Communication is one of the biggest and most important aspects of defense, so that's for sure.
Sass says maybe Buddy needs to be yelled at more.
Maybe he does. I don't know.
All right, let's talk about Buddy Hield. 40 minutes tonight. Him and HB led the Kings in minutes at 40. 29 big points. I think this is Buddy Hield's best game of the season. 7 and 9 from three-point range. Couple days after his birthday. So unfortunately, it wasn't a birthday present for him, but it was a birthday present for all of us Kings fans.
Yeah.
Because he was huge he had a huge impact on this game.
He did.
And what did you see different out of him?
Well, there was a lot less resistance defensively on him. I mean, the Grizzlies had a really good game plan, and they also have so many different good wing defenders. They can stick on him. They can switch on him. They can play the screens the right way off of him. So this was just a different game. And it's one of those games for Buddy. When he gets in and he hits his first couple in a row, it goes one of two ways. He's either going to be on all night long, or all of a sudden there's going to be a huge fall off and he ends up going 5 of 13, you know, something like that. But tonight he was in a groove the whole time. I thought the types of shots that he was looking for and taking were good shots. I liked a lot of the decision making. He went to drive to the basket at the right moments as well, and had some really big finishes at the rim late in the game too. So it was just a well put together game from him. And maybe the fact that Tyrese had it going so much today in the pick and roll and even a little bit of isolation. I mean, he was hitting shots from all over the field, all over the court. So that kind of draws the defense to focus more in on him, which even for a guy like Buddy Hield, who isn't going to be left wide open, all he needs is a sliver sometimes, and he can knock it down with ease.
Yeah, you mentioned Tyrese Haliburton, career high in assists for him, and 11 tonight. He did play in foul trouble in part of the game. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But do you think those 11 assists might have contributed to Buddy having such a good game? And how are you feeling about the Buddy-Tyrese fit as opposed to Buddy and Fox?
I think that when you have a point guard who you know is a real threat to find anybody on the court at any time, of course it helps all of your offensive players. It helps your shooters. It helps your big men, because defenses are always going to be second guessing necessarily what's coming next. They get in this pick and roll, and it's just lob after lob after lob or a dump off. So then that shrinks the defense in, and you end up with open looks from outside for your shooters the next time around. And then after that, Tyrese just takes it himself because he knows that everybody's watching the court for where he's going to be looking to go with the ball next. So having that type of player run your offense and be a point guard is obviously going to be really beneficial to everyone around him.
Yep.
Because when De'Aaron Fox has the ball, it's isolation, it's pick and roll so that he can get downhill going to the basket. That's not to say that Fox never looks to pass the ball, because we've seen him have plenty of games with 7, 8, 9 assists.
Yep.
But it's not the same type of pressure that it puts on a defense as opposed to Tyrese handling the ball.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes, when Fox gets the ball, and like you said, he's going downhill at the basket as fast as possible, I feel like he's already made up his mind. He knows if he's going to pass it or if he's going to the basket. He already made up his mind. Versus Tyrese is more of a measure, what are you doing? Depending on what you're doing, I'm going to give up the ball or I'm going to keep the ball. It's almost like a quarterback in football that already knows who he's throwing it to before he snaps the ball, versus someone that's going to, do a little bit of play action, see what the safeties do, see what happens, and then go with what's open. And, there's so many times where I see guys cutting to the basket or rolling to the basket, and they're wide open, and De'Aaron Fox is just a little bit late in seeing that, and he doesn't get them the ball because he doesn't want to make that turnover, and he ends up taking a contested shot at the basket or a turnover or dribbles it off his knee out of bounds. And so that is one of the main differences I see. Joe has a question here in the chat. He says, question, guys. Does this pure point guard performance from Tyrese, if it continues, make you start considering trading Fox for a big piece? And I don't want to dive too much into this because in the next section, guys, we're going to talk about trades, and a lot of it is centered around this. But just kind of a quick...
Well, the quickest answer I can give to that is, and I want to preface this with, I'm not trying to take anything away from Tyrese tonight. He had a fantastic game, and we all know that he's a really great player. And if he gets more opportunity like this, where he's not playing alongside somebody like De'Aaron Fox, who is a heavy usage guy and has the ball in his hands a lot, these games are definitely more realistic and more possible going forward. But it is one game. He's not going to score 30 and have 11 assists every night. That's not the case. The Spurs didn't play a ton of defense. There wasn't much resistance for him getting. They had no answer in the pick and roll. He had wide open dump off passes all night long. That's not going to happen. I mean, they play the Warriors next. This performance, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, is not going to be repeated tomorrow night in San Francisco. So I think that the fan base is so anxious for this team to turn the corner and get good. And that's for good reason, obviously. They've been bad for so long, and we all love this team. We want them to be good. But in sports, people overreact and underreact all the time. I mean, there's a reason why they have Overreaction Monday on NFL Live after every NFL week. It's because everything that's so fresh in your mind takes the forefront and takes precedent above all the other things that you've seen all season long.
Yep. Ryan Fitzpatrick is a perfect example of that.
Yeah. So I will just try to urge people to pump the brakes just a little bit on this. It's okay to be excited. He had a great game, and we hope that all of that continues. Really what it comes down to me, this answer is getting a lot longer than I thought it would, but really what it comes down to me for me is the Kings have to choose a style of play.
Yes.
We've said
100%.
this a lot. They have to pick one direction and go for it. If this is the direction that they want, it can work. If they want to have Fox as the centerpiece of their team, I believe that they could get somebody else with him, some big name player, and that would work too. But they have to pick one or the other.
Yep. I totally agree. And I want to talk more about that, but we're going to wait until Around the Crown. And then we're going to dive all into that and talk about fit, scheme, trading, players, all that fun stuff. So make sure you guys stick around for that. So Kings win tonight by 7. Looking here at the updated standings, Kings are now 13-18. They're in the 10th spot. Trailblazers won tonight as well. They are also 13-18. You talked about defense. Spurs played no defense tonight. Normally, this Spurs team is great at defense. You look at head coach, you look at some of these players, Jacob Poeltl. I really like a lot of the guys and a lot of the fit on this team. I personally think Popovich is one of, if not the greatest NBA coach of all time. Why did the Kings get such good open looks tonight?
Well, this team is a shell of what they used to be. We have to all agree on that. I mean, they were so good for so long, and they had such amazing players within this organization, and the drop off in talent over the past how long has it been since Tim Duncan retired? 2014?
Oh man. Yeah, 8 years maybe.
Something like that. It's been enormous for them. So you're right, Greg Popovich is an amazing coach, and he's going to find a way to get these guys to overperform or to exceed expectations. One of the things that we talked about with the Kings not being able to do as of late, or for the past number of years with their role players, that's what makes a huge difference in a lot of franchises in the NBA. If you can maximize the potential of the guys that are not your stars, because that just balances everything for you, balances your team, your defense, all that stuff. They have some good pieces. Lonnie Walker is a really good offensive player who I think has slowly gotten better and better over the course of his career. DeJounte Murray is fantastic, and he had a great game today. Again, also injuries.
Yep.
Derek White has been really, really good for them at times, but outside of that, they're just grasping for straws. Devin Vassell, who we were really high on in the draft last year, he hasn't played to what I thought his potential was so far. So they're still far behind. And for them, their front court is really lacking. Jakob Poeltl is a serviceable player.
In the pick and
roll. But in terms of the overall, what he's going to give to you, not that much. And they don't really have much depth at those positions behind him either. So they're in a transitional period right now. And because they have Greg Popovich, they're not going to be down at the bottom of the standings, right?
Yep.
So they don't end up getting the first or the second pick.
Yep.
And so they just continue to spin the wheels here.
So we talked on Friday on the Royal Report. We took a look back at the Buddy Hield DeMarcus Cousins trade. Speaking of Poeltl, you look back at this Toronto Raptors trade with the Spurs. They won a championship in Toronto, but Leonard's no longer on the team.
Yeah.
DeRozan's no longer on the Spurs team. All they really have left is
Lowry's
Poeltl.
not on the Raptors anymore.
In this whole deal. So I guess you would say the Raptors won that trade just because they got a championship out of it.
Oh yeah,
I would definitely take a championship. But it's a interesting thing here. Last guy I want to talk about here is Harrison Barnes before we jump into your keys of the game. Like I mentioned earlier, 40 big minutes for Harrison Barnes tonight, 4 of 11 from the field, 14 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. He was pretty aggressive tonight too. I saw some moments where he needed to get the ball to the basket. He made it happen. Give me your thoughts on HB.
Didn't shoot very well, but I liked his aggressiveness. Again, that's for me, I just want to see him looking for his shot out there. He is the second or third best offensive option on this team any night, no matter who's healthy and who's not. And he needs, in order for the Kings to win games consistently, he needs to score points for them.
Yep.
Doesn't necessarily have to have 20 or 25 every night, but he can't have these games where he's only attempting 6 shots and he ends up with 8 points or something like that, doesn't get to the free throw line. That's just not using him in the right way, in my opinion. So I liked he was aggressive. I liked that they ran offense through him, a lot of isolation, definitely in the post as well. I think that's an area of his game that is so good. I think they could try to post him up more in the future, especially when they have mismatches defensively like they had tonight.
Yep. You want to give a shout out to Deuce and Mo? They're in the building.
What's up, guys? Shout out Deuce and Mo. Thank you so much for your shout out the other day on the Deuce and Mo podcast.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We love watching your show. We love Kings fans. So if you guys don't know about it, go check out Deuce and Mo. They got an awesome post-game show.
Hard to believe anybody doesn't know about you guys, but
all right, so let's talk about your keys to the game.
Yeah, they didn't really hit on a lot of these. My first key was speed them up. They forced San Antonio into 14 turnovers, which is pretty good. That's like a middle of the road to slightly above game for most NBA teams. They didn't really capitalize on it. I think they only had 6 fast break points off of that. But like we said before, hustle plays, getting on the floor, all the steals that they had, that was all really, really good. My second key was focus on Murray. He had a great game, but great players have great games, and luckily the Spurs didn't get enough from anybody else to change the outcome of this game. And then lastly, next man up, they did hit on this one big time. That's Damian Jones. Career high, 23 points in 19 minutes. That is next man up for sure.
That is next man up. And, Buddy Hield stepped into the starting position tonight. He shot really well. Tyrese Haliburton stepped into the starting point guard position. He played very well. The Kings are going to win basketball games when they play together and when they shoot over 50% from three-point
if you
range.
shoot 56% from 3, you're going to be in most games. Most games.
Oh, that's funny. Anything else you want to touch on this game before we jump into next section?
Just really happy they got a win. We talked about Doug Christie. These games, win or loss, are so valuable for him.
Yep.
And the type of person that he is, as you already talked about a little bit, he's going to just soak up so much from this experience, and it's going to make him that much better in the long run. Even when Alvin Gentry comes back and he slides over to that assistant coach job, he's still going to be very instrumental in what the Kings do day in and day out. And so he's going to benefit from it, which in turn means the players are going to benefit from it.
Yeah, I want to give one more shout out before we move on, and that's to the LA Lakers. They lost to the Bulls tonight, 115-110. Keep it up, Lakers. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick little break here, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Around the Crown. We're talking all things Sacramento Kings and beyond. Join the royal family by smashing that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, you might as well hit that like button. Calvin and I are here. We're getting paid in likes, so make sure you guys feed us as often as you can. So I want to talk a little bit more about this Doug Christie situation. I love how much I've seen from him, even though it's only been 3 games. I just love everything that he's done, man. I loved him on the Kings. I loved him in the broadcast booth. I love seeing him on the bench talking, working with Bagley and all that. And now I love to see him in the head coaching position. One of the things he mentioned in his presser after is he said his goal is 30 assists a game. He said the closer you can get to that 30 number, the better you are. Tonight they were at 23. He said he'd like to see him at 27, 28, as close to 30 as he can get. And his reasoning is that means you're playing for your teammates, and that's everything. So I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I couldn't agree more. I mean, 30 assists a game is, first of all, it's a very lofty goal to have, which is not a problem, not a bad thing, but it's a very lofty goal to have. The two teams that are tied for first in assists in the league right now are averaging 28 a game, and that's the Warriors and the Spurs. So if your team is averaging 30 assists per game, you're doing more than a couple things right. You're doing them absolutely fantastically. And in today's NBA, if you don't have guys like Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, people who it really does not matter. You could literally have all four other guys on the court just stand in one spot. They could stand in the same spot. And these guys will still go out and get buckets for you all night long. Most teams in the NBA don't have that luxury. De'Aaron Fox is one of those types of players. He's second in the league in points in the paint for guards, a little over 10 a game, very much an isolation player, and somebody who you can rely on to get a basket for you when everything goes to hell and your offense is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. But overall, your team is going to be much, much better if everybody is sharing the ball, everyone's moving.
Yep.
Defensive rotations in the NBA are so hard right now. They're harder than they've ever been because everyone can shoot.
Yep.
Everyone shoots really, really well.
And they're all 6'10".
And they're all big. And the people are constantly moving. Look, this is why the Warriors have been as good as they've been for this long. Because they have guys like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson who you could just say, give them the ball and let them go. And sometimes they do that. But that's not why they're so successful. They're constantly moving. They're sharing the ball around. Everyone's flying off of screens. It's beautiful, beautiful offense to watch. So I think that absolutely should be the goal for this Kings team.
Yeah, and speaking of good passers, McCammy's got a hot take here. McCammy says, is Fox and Haliburton in the same situation as when the Suns had Jason Kidd and Steve Nash? And I also want to give a shout out because I think Kevin Johnson was in that backcourt as well. And he was mayor of Sacramento, was instrumental in keeping the Kings in Sacramento. So I want to give him a shout out too. But I want to hear your thoughts on this.
I think there's some truth to that.
It's lofty comparing them to two Hall of Famers.
Yes, and I also see Jason Kidd and Steve Nash as more similar players than I see De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Haliburton. You still ended up you're still going to have to make, well, the Suns had to make a decision between the two of them, and the choice they made worked out for them overall. But who knows? If they had kept Kidd, I don't know what it would have looked like. So, yeah, I mean, there's Kings have to, like I said, they've got to pick.
Choose a direction.
Choose a lane, right?
Yeah.
Stay in your lane. Not to say that it couldn't work with both of those guys, but I do think that as long as the two of them play in the backcourt together, neither one of them reaches their true potential.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I feel like they've said the same about Lillard and McCollum and some of these other guys that, one or two of them is score first, or maybe both of them. But, yeah, I think I agree with you overall on that. It makes me wonder, though. Obviously, I think you and I agree that Tyrese is a better passer. If coach wants to average 30 assists a game, who does that mean they're looking to put in that starting position? Because, not that De'Aaron Fox is a ball stopper, but his style of play is not as sharing the ball friendly as Tyrese Haliburton is.
Yeah, I mean, De'Aaron Fox is most effective when he is putting up a lot of shots. He very much needs to get himself into a rhythm. He's got to get to the basket, get to the free throw line. He requires all of that, whereas Tyrese Haliburton could have a great game and score 0 points because he'd end up with 12 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks, something like that, and it would result in everybody else having a good game offensively around him. So it's just it's different styles. it's a conundrum. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, shout out to Brendan here in the chat. He messaged us on Instagram, and he said when fans were leaving the game, they were chanting trade De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
It's
Didn't
sad,
I tell you
honestly.
this was like
It's
a car
disappointing,
crash
but
that I could see coming from a long way? And not that it's, gonna be as bad as a car crash and, it's a good or a bad thing, because I think everyone's opinion is valid here. But it's just, I feel like I saw this coming from so far away, and it's like De'Aaron Fox was playing bad and everyone was getting mad. And then the Ben Simmons situation. And I'm finally feeling like De'Aaron will not get traded for Ben Simmons. If he does get traded, he'll probably get traded for other pieces. And that brings me to my next topic here. Ethan and I were at the Brew Co. watching the games. He was watching Bengals and I was watching Kings. And he said, I got a good trade idea for you. So I want to show you guys and hear your thoughts. This is it. Kings, Pacers, Miles Turner, Karis LeVert, and he was including a first-round pick from the Pacers in this deal for De'Aaron Fox and Tristan Thompson. I know you like LeVert. I know you like Turner.
yeah.
What do you think of this deal? Who says no?
Who says no? You mean like between Indiana and Sacramento?
Yeah.
Well, I don't really know what Indiana's looking to do here. They still haven't made it public whether or not they're going to side with trading Miles Turner or trading Sabonis. That seems to be the biggest question mark for them. They're trying to pick one of these guys to build around for the future.
Mm-hmm.
There's clearly a lot to like if you're Sacramento in this deal, especially if you get a first-round pick as well. I worry, like we've talked about before, what Miles Turner's role would be on this team if you still have Rashawn Holmes as well. Are you going to start both of them together? Is he going to play more of this role that we see him play in Indiana right now that he has publicly said he's not happy with? He feels like he deserves more.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to commit to him full time at the 5 and try to move Rashawn Holmes? But I do love the idea of Haliburton and LeVert playing together.
And Turner.
Well, yes, and Turner as well. But I think Karis LeVert would be an ideal person to have in the backcourt alongside with Tyrese.
Yeah, I agree.
And you put their wingspans together, like they might almost play 2-3 zone the whole time. They'll just take up the entire 3-point line, the two of them.
There you
together.
go. And then Kings will have an extra player to cherry pick like Vivek wants them to do, right?
Yeah.
I was looking at this deal and I'm like, wow, this actually might be a deal that works for both teams. And, I like De'Aaron Fox, one of my favorite players. I really like him a lot. The only way I would consider trading him is for something like this that gives him a good start on another team and makes our team better. And I think this deal could potentially do that, especially if the Kings are able to bring in another draft pick, because maybe they could go after a guy like Brandon Ingram and trade Harrison Barnes, 2 first-round picks, and maybe Marvin Bagley for a guy like Brandon Ingram or something like that. So it gives them other potentials. You and I traded for Brandon Ingram in our 2K rebuild.
Yes.
We saw how that worked out. I know Deuce Mason is a big fan of Brandon Ingram and wants to bring him to Sacramento. You and I both talked about it seemed kind of like a lateral move for Harrison Barnes. However, we both like the age difference. We like how young he is. He's locked up a little bit longer than HB. And he gives this young Kings team a chance to grow together. But I think this is a good trade for Indiana too. Then you're rebuilding around Sabonis, who's obviously their best player, and De'Aaron Fox. See where that goes. They still have guys like TJ Warren and some other good pieces. But as far as the fit between Miles Turner and Rashawn Holmes, Rashawn's still not eligible to be traded until I think January 14th. So maybe if you're able to do a trade like this, because this deal could happen, then you maybe rock with those two guys for a month, see how it works out, and then if it doesn't, then you flip Rashawn Holmes.
Yeah, Yeah, that to me is the question. Where do you go from there after this deal is done? And I still think you can probably get a little bit more than this from De'Aaron Fox, whether it's more draft picks and these guys or a different set of players. So I've been on record saying that I don't want to see De'Aaron Fox traded. At this point, what I want to see is the Kings make a decision for the future in terms of how they're going to play, what style of team they want to build, because I think they have two lanes here that they could go with, two options, and they need to pick one rather than continuing to drive right down the middle here with all these point guards.
Yeah. So as far as style of play goes, we talk about De'Aaron Fox. Seems to be the perfect match with a guy like Alvin Gentry because they just want to run, get up and down the court. And maybe that doesn't fit some of the, best attributes of some of these other players on the Kings. If you were to choose a lane and say, let's say that lane is Tyrese Haliburton, what's that style of play going to look like?
It's going to look a lot like how it looked today. You're going to surround him with good shooters. You're going to have a really, really solid center that sets great screens. Somebody like a Rudy Gobert, Miles Turner sets great screens as well. Someone that he can run the pick and roll with is going to be a lob threat. That to me is how it looks. And then from there, I want really, really good wing defenders to surround that core so that this team, it becomes a two-way team overall.
Do you think Damian Jones would fit next to a guy like Miles Turner better than Rashawn Holmes?
I think both of them would fit well as long as that's the thing, though, is with those two guys who are going to be mostly inside, Miles Turner, one of his greatest attributes right now that he's worked on in his game is his outside shooting.
Yep.
So if you play him alongside someone like that, Rashawn Holmes or Damian Jones, he is going to be more in the role that he's in right now in Indiana to kind of space the floor and be, maybe he won't put up big offensive numbers every night, like 17, 18, 20 points a game, but he's going to shoot really, really well from three. He's going to score in double figures, and he's going to rebound, and he's going to block for you. And I just worry, I worry that he will get more and more upset if he continues to do that in another franchise and continues to lose games, which is a possibility. I'm not saying that they do this deal and the Kings all of a sudden are a above 500 team. The one thing I do really like about this trade that you put up on the screen is it helps them big time defensively. Mm-hmm. And you're also getting guys who are very capable scorers. Karis LeVert has a 50-point game, at least one that I know of in his NBA career. He's a very, very capable scorer, but he's a really good wing defender, and Miles Turner is an elite rim protector. Mm-hmm. So that is huge positive for me.
Yeah, and it kind of takes that logjam you have at the point guard position and shifts it to bringing in another wing player in LeVert and, bringing in another big presence. You have been so adamant about Miles Turner, and I agree with you. I think that he's one of the biggest additions this Kings team made, but you seem to be, concerned a little bit about the fit with him and guys like Rashawn Holmes. Is there a guy on this roster?
I'm concerned with him buying into it long-term again. I'm not concerned that he can't fit alongside them. I think he would fit really, really well because we've already seen it. It's not something that you can watch tape right now and see that it does work because of his skill set. I worry about him buying in long-term with Sacramento if that's going to be his continued role once he gets here.
Is there anything you would do to try and facilitate that buy-in?
Well, unfortunately, the easiest way to do that is winning, right? We saw it in our 2K rebuild. I know that it's not real, but we traded for Jeremy Grant. As soon as we got him, they weren't winning a ton of games. He was like, nah, I'm not resigning.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, we're in the NBA Finals, win the championship. He comes back on a discount.
Oh, yeah.
So winning cures a lot of things.
That is very true.
And that's something that this deal would be possible with because we agree that it would make the team better. But if you don't win games, it's a lot easier for a guy not to buy in that situation.
Yeah, Mike in the chat here says that trade would open up other trade options for the Kings to keep building, which I agree with.
Definitely. And that's the biggest part about trading De'Aaron Fox. If you're really going to trade him, you need to make sure that you have a bunch of pieces and assets coming back to you for that very reason. Because trading him, you're going to get, maybe you get an all-star player like somebody like Ben Simmons or Sabonis are available for those deals, but the job's not done at that point because you just lost a lot in De'Aaron Fox. So you have to have yourself ready for more moves after that.
Is there another guy you'd want to target to maybe include in this lineup with Turner and LeVert, Haliburton?
In the starting lineup?
Yeah, or just more depth you'd want to bring in? Anybody you can think of around the league that you'd like to move into this team? What would your next move be?
My next move would probably be, as much as I love Rashawn Holmes, I would probably try to move on from him and get somebody who is a real stretch four scoring threat so that Turner could be the focal point at the 5, run the pick and roll, and from there you have somebody in the corner that's not Marvin Bagley or Metu, who have been really inconsistent from 3. You know, and it might even be a solid veteran player, like, for example, a PJ Tucker, somebody that I know is going to hit that corner 3 with a lot of consistency, and he's going to bring it every night defensively. I think that would be a good fit as well. I think they should aim higher than that, but they could probably do a lot worse than bringing somebody. If you had Haliburton, LeVert, Barnes, PJ Tucker, and Miles Turner, that's a really good defensive lineup, first of all. Really, really good defensive lineup. And you've got a bunch of scorers, and they can all shoot. Yeah,
I like that a lot. I want to hear from you guys. Is there anybody that you think would help this Kings team out if they were ending up like trading De'Aaron Fox? You know, I like
Mike
Miles
says
Turner.
Porzingis, which is a real interesting take there.
I mean, you lose your defense, but you do get your stretch 4, and he's been having injury problems as well.
He has.
And he makes a ton of money, so
he does make a lot
you'd
of
have
money.
to give up HB or Buddy Hield and another guy to make this work.
Yeah. I would be okay if I could give up Buddy Hield and something else for it, probably.
I just, I know it's only one game, and I get all excited when I see these, but seeing Tyrese Haliburton dish the ball to Buddy Hield for wide open
Reddish
threes,
too, that would be nice.
Is very exciting. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
I feel like Tyrese can help Buddy's game a lot because Buddy takes a lot of dumb shots, and I saw a graphic about shots with him not dribbling versus one dribble versus more than one dribble and what his shot percentage was. I think Haliburton could get him the ball a lot easier than De'Aaron Fox to where he doesn't have to take more than one dribble to get an open shot, which creates better shots, ups his field goal percentage, gets rid of Buddy Chuckets.
Yeah. I agree with that. But in reality, De'Aaron Fox should be able to get him the ball wide open as well because every time he gets into the paint, there's 3 or 4 people around him. So he should be able to do those things, but a lot of times he just isn't looking for it. That's, I think, the biggest difference.
You like Cam Reddish?
I think Cam Reddish would be a great fit. Yeah, I don't know about playing him at the 4.
Surprised he's even available.
I do like Cam Reddish a lot.
Then you'd have to move HB probably. Maybe you play Cam at the 2, LeVert at the 3.
Yeah, those guys I think would be interchangeable, 2, 3. I don't think it would really matter much which one you had.
Are you still in the hold on to Harrison Barnes camp?
I think it all depends on what I can get in return for him. Like I've said before, to me, Harrison Barnes is so valuable on this team because he does so many things well, and he leads them, or he's up, second or third on the team in so many different statistics. Points and rebounds. He's a really solid defender. So if I trade him, I need to have somebody coming back that I know is going to fill at minimum those shoes.
Yeah.
It can't be a move that leads to your next move sort of a thing. I think it's got to be a starting player that's going to be in the rotation playing really meaningful minutes right away.
Yeah, Harrison Barnes got 1 year left on this contract after this season for $18 million. We saw him re-sign once for less money. But,
Rui Hachimura would be fantastic. I would love that move.
Yeah.
Love that move.
Yeah, I mean, bringing in young guys is great. I'll consider trading Barnes when he reaches 35 years old. I don't know if you're going to get much for HB at 35, but, you know.
Yeah.
You're going to have to pay him a lot to keep him, I think. And is the production worth the price? That's the age-old question, right? Is the juice worth the squeeze?
Yeah. But again, this whole thing comes down to, you know, there's so many different options that we could throw out here, all these different names. And maybe all of these guys would help, but it starts with the front office just coming into work and saying, this is the direction this is step one. All these other dominoes fall after this first deal gets made, whatever that is.
Yep. Yeah, and you know, it's still yet to be seen what Monty is thinking about. He hasn't revealed his hand, which is one thing that I've really liked about this front office, is they've kept a lot of things internal. But yeah, is it all smoke and mirrors at this point? Does he really have a big plan, a master plan that he's being patient and waiting for, and he's going to finally pull the trigger and start making deals and rebuild this team and create a style that he wants? Or did he just take over something and he's just trying to do it better but the same?
Yeah, that remains to be seen.
And then we get back into that whole debate about best available, drafting best available, because you don't have these problems if you're drafting for need. Well, you don't have as many problems.
Yeah, you can.
But when you're drafting best available, then you end up in these situations when you're like, okay, well, our best player is a point guard. He's on a max deal. Our, maybe third best player, fourth best player is also a point guard. He's going to need to be paid soon. And then our youngest, not youngest because he's 23 already, but our first round draft pick last year is also a point guard, and he needs some playing time too. And we love what we've seen out of all three of those guys.
Yeah, so it's a good problem to have, but it's only a good problem to have if you take the first step towards the solution to that problem.
Yeah. And I still don't think this 3-guard lineup, I mean, I like it in certain parts. I like the defensive side of it, but I still don't know if this small ball 3-guard or multiple guard lineup is the answer, and just trying to run teams out the court or out the arena. But there's so many different goals, right? Like, a lot of goals are shooting for NBA championships. That's not what the Kings are shooting for at this point. Obviously, that's what the ultimate goal is and what we all want, but I feel like right now the bar is just set at making the playoffs. So, do you get into this, we need to make the playoffs first, and then once we make the playoffs, then maybe guys will want to come here because we're winning, and then we can build and get better and better, and then start competing for a conference title, and then we can start competing, for a championship after that? Or do you just say, this team's not good enough to win a championship, let's start over and let's pick pieces that we think we can build a championship roster around in the future?
I don't think a team like Sacramento has that luxury. I mean, you're not the Lakers, you're not Miami, you're not Boston. You can't, in one day of free agency, put together a championship roster. So it's the goal right now has to be, how do we improve the roster enough so that we kick the door down and break this playoff drought? From there, you make the assessment of, is this team that we made the playoffs with, are they going to grow and get better? Do we think that eventually competing for a championship is realistic, or is there more tinkering to do? But I feel like you just have to focus right now on winning record and make the playoffs. That needs to be the main agenda.
If you were to just give me your gut feeling, when do you think we'll see a first trade for this Kings team?
Man, that is such a tough question to answer. I just don't know. I really, really don't know. And it's hard to say because every other team that they would be trading with has their own agenda, right? It's not just a question of Monty wakes up one day and he goes, you know what? I am going to trade De'Aaron Fox. And it happens.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of other things that need to work out and go right for that to actually come to fruition. So,
unless he's waiting on Ben Simmons.
well, I don't know. I mean, if that's really the ultimate goal, I feel like there would have to be a deal that you could get done today for Ben Simmons. It's been so long in Philadelphia. They want that to be over.
Mm-hmm.
I know Daryl Morey wants to maximize what he gets for him, but he's also got to be sitting there saying, I just wish that this nightmare would end, a little bit. So
Maybe he's waiting
I feel
on
like
Monty.
maybe he is. Maybe he's not. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the conversation has been like between them, how many conversations they've actually had. Maybe De'Aaron Fox sitting all these games is now going to change Monty's perspective on things too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's an evolving situation all the time. So to say when a deal will happen, if I knew the answer to that, I would probably make a lot of money.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. And, it's kind of cool getting to see these sneak peeks without De'Aaron Fox. And I'm just trying to look at it from a positive perspective because nobody wants their best player out and not playing. We saw what happened, when the Kings were looking good last year. And then De'Aaron Fox gets COVID, misses the last 10 games of the season, and the Kings seemed to fall apart. They played okay. They were in the games, but they just couldn't execute at the end. And we might be seeing a similar pattern here. But I do have to say, this Tyrese Haliburton that we see now is much different than last year's Tyrese Haliburton. And I like everything I'm seeing from him. I think he is definitely capable of handling the point guard duties. My fear in trading De'Aaron Fox is that he's going to end up blowing up on another team and playing really, really well. And I'm going to be like, why did we trade this guy? Oh, my God, why did we trade him? But if Tyrese Haliburton's also blowing up, oh, got something in my eye. If Tyrese Haliburton's also blowing up at the same time, and the Kings were able to add, two other pieces like a Miles Turner or a LeVert, I think that helps the team more than having a De'Aaron Fox just because we don't want to trade him because he could get better, and him preventing Tyrese Haliburton and potentially Davion Mitchell from reaching their potential.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all a very difficult puzzle to put together. There's no question about that.
Brandon says, where would Simmons fit in? Are we expecting him to play forward? I heard he was strict on playing as a guard.
Yeah, well, Barry wants him to play power forward.
Yeah. Or a point forward.
Yeah.
We won't give him the guard. We'll give him the point part.
Point
Oh,
forward.
you want to play
Okay.
point guard? Oh, I thought you said point
But
forward.
no, that's a very good point. If you're going to move on from De'Aaron Fox and you're going to say, okay, Tyrese is our guy, he's the one that's going to run the offense, and you bring in somebody like Ben Simmons, who is very much that same type of guy, except he's just not as good of a shooter as Tyrese, then you sort of have a similar situation where it's like, where do these two pieces fit next to each other?
You might get closer to that 30 assists a game, though, having both of those guys wanting to pass the ball because Ben Simmons is going to keep passing it.
That's true. That is true.
Buddha says 4 years of Fox is so valuable.
For more years?
I guess 4 years left on his contract, I would assume.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It is.
Look,
But you got to give up value to get value.
Young. I mean, we're talking about a dude who's not going to enter his prime for another 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
Like, yeah, it's an unnerving thought as a GM when you're trying to figure out what direction to take with this roster.
You got to give up value to get value. Like everyone wants to get the steal. Oh, my God, I can't believe the car was listed at this price and I got it. No, you have to give up good things to get good things in return.
You want the car you're not going to spend tens of thousands of dollars on fixing over the next 10 years,
Yes, exactly. All right. Any other guys you want to focus on trade-wise or making moves or anything? Anybody you want to spotlight on the Kings before we move on here?
No, I think we've talked a lot about a lot of these guys. Christian Wood is another name we didn't talk about today, but we've mentioned before. You know, he's somebody that would be high on my list as well. But again, that first move is what opens the door for everything else. So.
Yes. And Calvin's not going to say it, but I'm going to make a prediction. If you guys want to keep track, I'm going to say 30 days from today. So what is that? December 19th. So that'll put us at what? January 18th since there's 31 days. So I'm going to say the first Kings deal happens within the next 30 days before January 18th.
I'll take the over on that.
You can quote me that. Calvin's going to take a shot of Crown Royal if it's under.
And Barry will take a shot if it's over.
Deal. Sounds good. All right, guys, we're going to take another quick break. And when we come back, we're going to take a look at the Kings' next game and next week of basketball with Kings Crusade. Welcome back to Royal Rebounds TV, a Sacramento Kings YouTube channel for fans by fans. The Kings continue their crusade to get back to the playoffs. Next up is the Golden State Warriors. If you're a Kings fan, make sure you hit that like button down below and consider subscribing to the channel. So, Cal, we have a back-to-back. Kings won tonight at home. They get to stay in the wonderful state of California. They travel about an hour 15, depending on traffic, to San Francisco to play these Warriors. And yeah, it's probably an hour and a half. I drive a little fast. But the Warriors are looking great. They have the second best record in the league, just behind the Phoenix Suns. We hear Klay Thompson's coming back soon. James Wiseman's coming back soon. Obviously, none of these guys are going to be playing in this game. But the Kings are still without De'Aaron Fox. They're still without Rashawn Holmes. Still without Marvin Bagley, Terrence Davis, Alex Len, some of these other guys. What are your thoughts on this game? And then we'll jump into your keys of the game.
Well, my thoughts are it's going to take a big effort. I mean, this is the team, this is the measuring stick right now, or at least one of them for the entire league. This is a team that has been on an absolute roll ever since the year started. We all know what Steph Curry has been doing this season and the level of play that they've gotten from everyone around him while they bring Klay Thompson and James Wiseman back. Andrew Wiggins is playing arguably his best basketball of his entire career. All these role players, Jordan Poole has been fantastic for them. The list goes on and on and on. And when it comes to the X's and O's of this game, well, yeah, we all know it's going to be really difficult. The Warriors are one of the top scoring teams in the league. They're one of the top defenses in the league. They do a lot of things incredibly well. They're a very fundamental team. They have all this championship experience. So it goes without saying that this is going to be a tough one on a back-to-back nonetheless.
Yeah, and the Kings have actually played surprisingly well on these back-to-backs on the second half, not really on the first half, but they were able to win tonight with no defense by the Spurs. Hopefully we can see that again here. So ESPN does have Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, and Andrew Wiggins all listed as out for this game.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Hope that nothing changes before tomorrow. They do have Golden State as an 84% favorite.
Mike, I almost put that as one of my keys. I'm being serious. It's funny that you said that.
And the Warriors have only lost 2 games at home this entire year, 14-2 at home. But let's jump into your keys of the game and don't say pray.
Okay, so in order to win a game like this, obviously you have to do so many things well. You have to play well on both sides of the ball. But I'm really going to focus on the Kings need to do what they are best at better than normal in this game. That's the only way they're going to have a shot, in my opinion. So paint points is number one. This is a team that's third in the league in paint scoring right now. They have to – I want to see them score over 60 points in the paint in this game. If they do that, I feel confident that they will have a good opportunity here to at least be in the game late. Number 2 is points off turnovers. I mentioned that Golden State is, right around the top of the league in just about every category, but for some reason, one of the things that they've been really bad at this year is turnovers. They're actually 29th in the league in turnovers a game. They average over 15 a game. So the Kings need to take advantage of that, A, by getting turnovers, and B, they have to take advantage of those turnovers when they happen. Fast break points, easy baskets. This is not an easy team to score on in the half court.
Nope.
So they're going to have to really take advantage of those opportunities. And then lastly, buddy buckets, not buddy chuckets.
Okay.
He needs to have a similar performance to what he showed tonight. He needs to shoot well. He needs to provide the Kings with another legit scoring threat and a shooting threat in this game.
Yeah, I agree with all those keys. I would also throw in there Tyrese needs to play well.
Yeah.
You said Buddy needs to play like he did tonight. I think Tyrese needs to play like he did tonight. And maybe not Damian Jones, but the Kings need a big man to step up in this game. And it always helps beating Golden State when you can get Draymond Green in foul trouble early.
Definitely.
Take him off the floor.
Definitely.
It's going to be a rough game, man. It really is. You have a score prediction on this thing?
Ooh, I don't know.
I'm guessing you're not predicting the Kings to win this game.
Well, no. If I'm being totally honest, I'm not expecting the Kings to win this game. I would love to see that. I would just love to see a nice close game. A game that they have an opportunity to win late in the fourth quarter. But if I'm being completely honest, I would expect Golden State by. It could be
17?
8 points. It could be 30 points. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that this game could go. It could get out of hand really fast playing a team as good as that, being down so many players.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen that happen for the Kings against teams that are not anywhere near as good as the Warriors.
And if Curry plays well, if he shoots well, I mean, it could be over early. And then the spreads are really hard to predict because we don't know if he's even going to play in the second half. And maybe the Kings make it a 10-point game or something like that late. Yeah. Who really
This
knows?
is a game where missing guys like Davion Mitchell and even De'Aaron Fox to a certain extent. I've been critical recently of his defense, particularly his on-ball defense. Mm-hmm. But those two guys are better on-ball defenders than Tyrese Haliburton is. Tyrese is a good defender overall, very, very good one. But they have the capability to stick with a guy better than Tyrese does, especially Davion. So not having him that he could at least try to frustrate Steph Curry in this game is going to be problematic.
So this is kind of a trick question for you here. It's a tough one. But, the way I look at it sometimes is there can be benefits from losing games. And what I mean by that is it forces the GM to make a move. We saw what happened after the Kings went on a losing streak earlier this season. Luke Walton ended up getting fired. Some of these wins are, as you would say, moral victories. Like tonight, it really helped the team. It gave us a lot of confidence in some of these younger players. But I don't know if it helped them in the overall goal because the more games that they win, they're less likely to make a big move. So it's kind of that like 1 step forward, 2 steps back because they'll win a game and we'll all be happy and then they'll go on a 2 or 3 game losing streak and then we'll all be pissed and want to trade everybody again. Then they'll win another 1 or 2 games and we'll all be excited. Is there a moral victory losing this game against the Warriors tomorrow night? And at this point, where do you balance this? The Kings need to lose some games so that the GM's forced to make a move and help them get better? Or is it just still try and win every game, every single night? And if you didn't win, you're upset.
Well, it's always try to win. Yeah. And
I'm not advocating for tanking or anything like that because I'm just saying in the short term, before the deadline, Kings lose some games. They might make a big move and be able to turn this thing around.
Yeah, that's true. I think there would be moral victories or whatever the term is that you want to use if they were to go into this game and have it be a really close game. Maybe they lose by 4 or 5, 3 points, something like that. The moral victories to me would be seeing Tyrese play up to this level again, running the offense, being efficient, hitting from outside. I would like to have Davion out there as well. That would be like a moral victory to me too, to see him get more minutes, play a bigger role, score a bunch, play really good defense on Steph Curry. I know that's not going to happen because he won't be out there. But I think though, it's not a big one thing like, oh, this is a moral victory because we lost a close game to a really good team. This is the NBA. Any team can get beat on any night by anyone. So that in itself is not the moral victory. It's how specific guys play, what they do well, what they look like they're improving on against the measuring stick for the NBA.
Speaking of which, the Detroit Pistons beat the Miami Heat tonight. There wasn't any Jimmy Butler there to stop the bleeding.
Snapped a 14-game losing streak. Detroit did.
But like you said,
longest in franchise history.
Any team can win on any given night.
Yeah.
So that's very true. I want to see Buddy go for 15 of 40 3-pointers next game.
40.
Be careful what you wish for. 40 is
too much, yeah.
Be careful.
40 is too much.
What you wish for. And it's interesting. We heard about Harrison Barnes shooting all these threes earlier in the season. He doesn't shoot that many threes anymore.
Yeah.
Really strange.
Yeah, I don't know the answer for that one.
Maybe that's what got Luke fired, huh? We want HB shooting all the shots.
But even before he got fired, he wasn't taking 8 threes a game. So I don't know.
Tyler says, fun fact about Kerr versus Christie. Christie was on a Raptors team that was terrible. They gave the Bulls one of their only 10-point losses in that 72-10 season. Good fact. All these guys, they're all so intermingled and interconnected.
Yeah.
You can connect them all over the place. But I like Kerr. I like the Warriors. I hope they do well. Just hopefully not tomorrow night against the Kings.
Yeah.
All right, Cal, I think it's about time to wrap up this show. Anything else you want to mention or talk about?
Thanks for watching, you guys. Always appreciate the love in the chat. Shout out to everybody that's here tonight celebrating a Kings win with us.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get to do it again tomorrow.
Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful night. We will all see you tomorrow after the Warriors game. It's going to be a little bit later. We're going to start about 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So make sure you guys all tune in. We'll see you tomorrow. And in the meantime, go Kings.